Hey, it's time for another 3 questions here. I'm joined, of course, by legend of ultra running and Minnesota running native Scott Jurek here. We're going to do our 3 questions. What would you say is your, I guess, fondest memory of running in Minnesota, whether that was as a high school kid or afterwards when you were, learning the ropes of trail running?
I think really for me that the fondest memory was probably as a kid doing laps around the house. And I know it seems so simple and so boring, but I remember back then running was fun. And then when I went through a period of running just seems like boring and not fun at all. But I remember that and running back behind the house, I would build forts and pretend that I would, be on a horse riding like my Native American heroes. And it was that kind of stuff was to me, some of the fondest memories beyond all the great stuff that I've done on the trails.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Second question for you I would have is obviously everyone likes to be Monday morning quarterback. If you could go back to any of your awesome races, which I know there's a lot of those, and knowing what you know now about how the race turned out or how you felt, if you could change one thing in one race, what would that one thing be?
It's a good question, and I think for me, I actually don't look back, and I guess that's kind of my philosophy. So to be honest, I would be hard pressed to think about it, because for me, I don't look back and like, oh, if I'd done this right, because ultras to me, they're like naturally evolving. Things happen. There's no getting around it. I could think about if that bear hadn't stopped me for 20 seconds in Western States 100, maybe it would have been different. But at the same time, those are all experiences, or the fact that I had to jump over a rattlesnake one year at Western States. But more than anything, I think for me, maybe if I were to really pry hard back in the old memory bank, I would say in 2005, I probably could have pushed it a little harder, but I was doing Badwater in 2 weeks, and rather than just maybe get the win, and I wouldn't say cruise, but considering I ran 15:36 the year before and set the record, I probably wouldn't have ran as slow, maybe knowing okay, Badwater can suffer, but there's always one of those weird things of doing a race 2 weeks later, how much that would have changed things. And I was trying to think too, because for those folks that know, my course record went down 2 weeks ago at the Minnesota Voyager, a 20-year record.
I know.
So if thinking back, if something hadn't happened in that race, but I really think races are just these things that you really can't look back and say, oh, if I'd done anything different, because especially hundreds or 50s, so many things can and go wrong, and you have to recover from that. So that's what all the great memories that we've had, and racing against Jaro those years up at Minnesota Voyager, and I'm just stoked that that record, that was the last one that I've had standing, and it's been over 20 years.
Isn't that crazy? My last question for you would be, obviously, as you alluded to, lots of awesome adventures and events and various things you've done. If someone said, okay, here's the deal, clean slate, whatever the heck you want to do, what would be the one thing that, if there's one thing that you could, no barriers, do right away, what would that be?
I've always wanted to have a good race at Ultra Trail Tour de Mel Blanc, and that race eluded me. And if I could go back to my 27-year-old body and fitness and engine, if you could bring me back in time, I'd love to have a crack at that race now. But yet with the experience that I've had, because I just didn't ever have my best race. I have not been able to really click. I've finished once finally, but had a couple years where the weather actually rained it out. And so in the 2 years I was really in good shape, 2010, training in Boulder, Colorado in the mountains, I felt like I was super ready, and then it got canceled that year. So it's just one of those things. And if I hadn't gotten injured, that would be one, if you're going back to your second question, if I hadn't been injured going into 2008, Ultra Trail Tour de Mont Blanc, because I was really in good shape, and I tried doing a 200-mile week and something stupid. So that is one race I need to go back, and if I could, but at the same time, it's I've had a great career, and now it'd be fun just to go back to races I never did, like the Superior 100, and go to the Bear 100, and just do them as as an old guy, and just have fun out there.
Have experiences. So that's awesome. Well, hey everybody, that was 3 questions with Scott Jurek.